Alright guys, today we're going to be solving radical inequalities. So this is very similar to when we were solving radical equations. Okay, the only difference is now we're dealing with an inequality sign. Okay, so you're going to go about solving this the same way as you were with the radical equations. However, when dealing with radical inequalities, there's going to be one last step at the end, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. Okay, so we're just going to treat this like an equal sign. We're going to solve it just like a radical equation, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we're dealing with a square root here. We want to get rid of that, so we're going to square both sides, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to square both sides, right? This will naturally cancel out, right? And now we're left with 2x plus 4 is less than or equal to 16 here, okay? We're going to subtract 4, okay? And we're left with 2x is less than or equal to, this will be 12. And now we simply just want to divide both sides by 2. Okay, so we get the following: x is less than or equal to 6. Okay, and you may be saying now, great, we're done. However, we also have to consider, okay, our square root here, right? So we're dealing with a square root. What do we know about this? Well, think what happens. What happens if this becomes negative underneath our square root? Right? Well, we're going to be dealing with an imaginary number, right? So we have to put a further, okay, constraint on this, and we have to say that, we'll do this on another color. We have to say that the square root of 2x plus 4 has to be greater than or equal to 0, okay? And we're going to go ahead and solve this inequality as well, okay? That will take care of any possibility of getting an imaginary number, right? Because we don't want a negative underneath that radical. Okay, so by setting this up, we take care of that so that that won't happen and none of those numbers will be part of the solution, okay? So let's go ahead and solve this now. We're going to square both sides. Alright, this will naturally cancel out our square root, and we're left with 2x plus 4 is greater than or equal to 0, right? Subtract 4 on both sides. And we're left with 2x is greater than or equal to negative 4. Okay, now we just simply want to divide by 2 on both sides. So we get x is greater than or equal to negative 2. Now remember, we didn't divide by a negative here, we divided into a negative, right? So the inequality does not flip here, right? But again, if we were to divide by a negative, well, then it would flip, all right? So we get this right here. And we also have this, right? So those are going to be our two answers, okay? So we have x has to be greater than or equal to negative 2. And we have x has to be less than or equal to 6. And you can actually write it like this. So our final answer can be written, let's do it in another color, as the following. Negative 2 less than or equal to x, and then less than or equal to 6, okay? That's perfectly fine. You can also write it like this, where you have x greater than or equal to negative 2 and x less than or equal to 6, okay? Both answers are acceptable, okay? They both mean the same thing. All right, and that is it.